You're one step away from finishing your blouse, but it's now time for the dreaded buttonholes. Are you feeling a little nervous? You're not alone. Buttonholes can be intimidating, but they don't have to be. With the right tips and tools, they'll become just another easy step in the process. This week's Feature Friday pattern at Love Notions is the stunning Ballad Blouse, and with it comes a special buttonhole tutorial today to take the stress out of sewing buttons and plackets. So let's take a closer look at this beautiful, versatile pattern and learn how to sew perfect buttonholes every time. The Ballad Blouse is a must-have for woven fabrics with just a little bit of drape. It features delicate shoulder gathers or shearing and offers 5 different style sleeves, making it easy to customize for any season. One of its standout details is the fully functional button-down placket. It's a gorgeous design element that adds elegance and makes it really versatile. But let's be honest, sewing buttonholes can really feel intimidating. But thankfully, with today's tutorial, buttonholes don't have to be scary if you're using the right tools and techniques. So here's how to take the fear out of buttonholes and get perfect results every time. The first step for great buttonholes is to place your buttonholes correctly. You're going to want to put the buttonholes on the right front of your blouse as it is worn. That's the traditional place to put buttonholes. Also, in terms of evenly spacing them, Love Notions does provide a buttonhole placement guide, but sometimes you're going to need adjustments for your particular body, your bust. You might not want to put a button right where it might cause gapping along your bust line, or if you have fewer or more buttons than is suggested. So we recommend highly using an expanding sewing gauge. This is a handy tool that makes spacing effortless. You just expand it to your desired length and then you get the perfect buttonhole positions in seconds. The third trick to great buttonholes is to stabilize and reinforce the buttonholes. Now, the placket is already reinforced with interfacing. With that lightweight drapey fabric, you're definitely going to want to have interfacing in there, but you might also notice it's still shifting or stretching while you sew buttonholes. So we suggest trying a tearaway stabilizer. It can be a game changer as you sew buttons. You just take a small piece, cut it slightly larger than the buttonhole, and this is going to keep the fabric stable while you stitch. Then after you're done stitching, you just tear it away and the buttonhole remains crisp and clean. Another part of the process here is getting to know your machine and its particular buttonhole sewing settings. Every machine has different settings that are optimum for sewing buttonholes, so just make sure that you practice on a scrap piece of fabric before you get to your final version. Test the tension, the width, and your stitch density, and that will help you get perfect results every time. Make sure that you do this for every project with new buttonholes. Before you open up your buttonholes, make sure that you apply a little bit of fray check to ensure that the threads of the buttonhole don't come loose every time you pull a button through it. And this will help your buttonhole stay beautiful for years to come. Now we're going to open up the buttonholes, which can be a very delicate step in the process. So if you use scissors or a seam ripper, I recommend placing pins at the beginning and the end of the buttonhole to prevent overcutting. But you could also try this buttonhole cutter, which is much more accurate and cleaner. So you're just going to place a small cutting mat underneath the buttonhole and then place the cutter right in the middle of the buttonhole on the front with just a little bit of light pressure. Now all that's left to do is to test out your buttonholes. Just slide that button through a couple of times to ensure that everything fits correctly. So as you can see, buttonholes do not need to be scary anymore, and with the right techniques and tools, they become just another step in your sewing journey, one that you can do with confidence. And don't forget, the Ballad Blouse is only $5 today as part of Feature Friday, so grab your copy before midnight. Happy sewing!